And away we go. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome and all to Coffee Talk. And right, it is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today, taking a look at some clips from the news, having a little bit of dialogue, which we will share with some of the people that have been able to join us in the live portion, which takes place Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. And that is at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University, respectively, as they say. Additionally, you can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Coffee Talk Chat, and fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Friday at noon. As we get ready to jump off, naturally, I do read through as many of the comments as is reasonable for the benefit of those of you who are listening and not able to see. And I'll go ahead and acknowledge some of the people that have chimed in so far. I see D-Lo is here today, and he says, thumbs up across the board. Yes, please do, if you do not mind. Whatever you are watching on, thumbs up, 5 stars, whatever they got. Helter is here, as well as Jane, Dragon, Urban Angst, and Tuck, who also wants to see us hitting the likes, as well as Cyberjack Sr. Glad you could all make it today as we get ready to dive off into the world of the ridiculous, which is the world that we live in, unfortunately. Joined today by one feline in the room, Daniel, who is asleep in the chair behind me. Daniel sleeping in the chair behind me. And I see Fluke Man has just popped in. So we get ready to jump off here. We're going to jump all the way to North Korea because they're at it again. They're at it again. More escalation of the hostilities on the border, courtesy of their little pissing match that they've had going on recently. I see Monkey is here as well, and Raccoon. We're at it again with the trash balloons. So View Us Global making the report, North Korea escalates with 250 additional trash balloons, which causes alarm in Seoul. I bet. So 250 more. As you know, this has been ongoing here. They sent balloons with human waste and toilet paper and garbage, like 600 of them, I believe. And then South Korea responded by reactivating their megaphone policy because they have like these huge speakers that are set up along the border of the demilitarized zone that blast music and other propaganda at random times, day or night, that can be heard for miles and miles and miles. So they started that up again. They haven't done it since like 2018, I think. So North Korea has responded by sending more garbage. And the article reads, it has been identified that North Korea dispersed about 250 waste balloons towards the south starting from the night of the 25th. According to the South Korean Joint Chiefs of Staff, on the 26th, the South Korean military identified a total of about 250 North Korean waste balloons from the previous night until 9 a.m. today. Currently, none are being identified in the air. About 100 waste balloons fell in the South Korean area, mainly in the northern part of Gyeonggi and Seoul. The Joint Chiefs of Staff reported the balloons' contents mainly were pieces of paper and no harmful substances were found in the investigation. However, the Joint Chiefs of Staff judged that since the balloons carried 22 pounds of trash, there was a risk when it crashed. Previously, North Korea sent about 2,000 waste balloons across the border in 5 rounds on the 28th and 29th of last month, and the 1st, 2nd, 8th, and 9th, and 24th of this month in response to the spread of anti-North leaflets by defector groups in South Korea. I heard it was 600. They're saying 2,000. I don't know which is accurate. At around 9:48 p.m. the previous night, the Joint Chiefs of Staff announced through a text message notice to the Ministry of National Defense reporters that the current wind direction is northwest. It is moving southeast from the northern Gyeonggi area, and that was the delivery of the 6th waste balloon had been sprayed. That's incredible. So we're at it again. At it again. And Sean is here from Northern Illinois. Jane says, what's going on with the trash balloons? Where to drop them or land or sea? That is so disgusting. Well, it's they're programmed. There's a small explosive pack on the balloon that's programmed to detonate at a certain time so that the trash falls off of the balloon and lands wherever. Or that I think it brings the whole balloon down. I don't remember, but I know it's a tiny explosive meant to disengage the balloon at a certain point. So they're pretty much all landing on land, but you can't really control exactly where. Dragon says they were reading something yesterday that said parasites were found in the balloons. That can't be good. Yeah, nothing too harmful, but because of course there's feces in some of them, so naturally there's going to be parasites. Helta says the balloons are the most passive-aggressive conflicts between North and South Korea. And they also tried to jump something off by having troops entering the demilitarized zone up to a certain point to right about where they would receive warning shots. North Korea did that a couple of times, like in the last week. Just, again, pissing match to try to piss everybody off. See who's gonna see if they can encourage the opposition to take that one step too far so that they can claim to be the innocent party. You want to be the victim, you know what I mean? And Tuck says it's all fun and games until the balloons drop white phosphorus or something. Well, that would then that would be an act of war, and then North Korea would be the aggressor. North Korea claims they're sending those balloons in response to the balloons that South Korea previously sent that had flyers, leaflets, reading material telling North Koreans how much it sucks to live in North Korea, as if they don't already know that. So they said, you sent us garbage, we'll send you real garbage. Let's try that. And then, of course, South Korea says, well, if you send us garbage, we're going to turn the speakers back on. See how you like that. And then when we turn the speakers back on, they sent more garbage. So you know how it is. It's like little kids. It's like, oh, if you do that, I'm going to do this. Well, if you do this, I'm going to do that. And it's just been going back and forth. It's been escalating again. And they had been on speaking terms for a little while too. You remember during the Trump administration, even they had formed a collaborative Olympic team, if I remember correctly. They were getting along for a minute. And Chillin' Dave is here. Wants to know if it's too early for FJB. It's never too early for that. And Chillin says Korean slap fight. They haven't quite gotten to the slapping part yet. And of course, North Korea is also in the news because they're sending troops to the Ukraine to help Putin. That's not exactly true. I had seen an article on the subject, and they're blowing it up. Oh, troops are being sent. They'll be cannon fodder. They're Army Corps engineers. They're not going to do anything. They'll be filling sandbags or some shit. They're not. They're not going there to fight. It's no worse than anything the U.S. is doing, sending, quote, advisors or advisors from the United Kingdom. It's just more of a pissing match. Again, Army Corps engineers aren't going to do any fighting. They're going to rebuild a bridge or something. So nobody cares. Nobody cares. It doesn't really matter that they're going, basically. But it makes it look like something so they can sit there and say, yeah, I dare you to escalate. I did this. I dare you to escalate. Look, what we did wasn't so bad. Are you going to attack us for it? That's how it works. That's government in action. Government in action. Lantern of Liberty says they had a colonoscopy yesterday. Made me think of Biden. Oh, shame on you. Shame on you. Made you think of Biden. No time is a good time to think of Biden. And Fluke Man says, didn't Putin and North Korea sign some kind of a weapons deal? I believe so. I believe so. And I guess so that North Korea can give them shells or something. But big deal. It's not a big deal, ultimately. It doesn't mean as much as everybody would, or as much as the media would blow it up to mean. They haven't done anything that would escalate to an armed conflict yet. And they won't. They're not going to push the limit. North Korea will never push the limit if China doesn't authorize it, because China is really their backbone. North Korea can't manage anything on their own, and they know it. But if China says go ahead, they'll do it, because China will back them up if they get into trouble. It's always been that way. It's been that way all the way back to when MacArthur was over there and was warned not to cross that parallel, and he did anyways. And then Chinese tanks started rolling in, and then MacArthur lost his job. Basically, MacArthur wanted us to nuke 50 locations in China. He said, we need to nip this in the bud, get ahead of it. I've got 50 targets all picked out. And the president was like, you're crazy. Are you crazy? No, maybe not. Maybe he had something going there. Maybe he had his finger on the pulse of something. But the world will never know. Not that I can condone just nuking a country anyways, but that's basically what he wanted. I saw a documentary on it many years ago. This came up yesterday, so I'll hash it back up again. Fox News article here. House Democrat becomes the first squad member ever defeated in a primary battle. So two-term Democratic Representative Jamal Bowman, Fire Marshal Bowman, talked about him yesterday, of New York, has the dubious honor of becoming the first House member of either party to be defeated by a primary challenger so far in the 2024 election cycle. Big deal. I mean, most of these guys are only running against one person. As I pointed out last time, AOC in the previous cycle didn't even have anyone running against her. So, yeah, no wonder she won. And Bowman also becomes the first member of the squad, a progressive group of diverse House Democrats, to be ousted from Congress. This after the Associated Press projected that rival George Latimer would defeat Bowman in Tuesday's Democratic primary in New York's 16th congressional district, which covers southern Westchester County in suburban New York City and a small portion of the Bronx. The primary between Bowman, a former middle school principal who 4 years ago ousted 16-term Representative Elliot Engel in the Democratic primaries, and Latimer, a Westchester County executive, had already earned a page in the record books as the most expensive congressional primary in the nation's history. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing that so much money gets spent for these campaigns. It really is. Money that could be better spent, in my opinion. And the contentious battle between a member of the squad and his more moderate challenger spotlighted the Democrats' deep divisions over the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. Can we worry about what's happening in the United States? I'll always go back to that. Everybody's got their mind halfway around the world worrying about the Ukraine and Gaza and all this other stuff. And right out their window is a disaster. Bowman, who has been outspoken about his support for Palestinians amid the war in Gaza, has charged that Israel has committed genocide, was targeted by roughly $14 million in spending by the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, the deep-pocketed pro-Israel group that supported Latimer. Progressive rock star Senator Bernie Sanders, wow, of Vermont. Why is he in New York? Why the hell is he in? You worry about what's going on in Vermont, Bernie Sanders. And Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York supported Bowman and teamed up with the besieged lawmaker at a rally Saturday in the Bronx. The event was anything but a PG-rated spectacle as Fire Marshal Bowman repeatedly used profanity. Quote, "We are going to show effing AIPAC the power of a mother effing South Bronx," Bowman said at the rally, which was held outside the congressional district's boundaries. Speaking with reporters on Monday, Latimer called Bowman's language inappropriate. Period. I agree. That's very inappropriate for a lawmaker. But if you have no self-respect, but you demand respect, and you have no self-respect, and you have no self-control, and you're going to get up on stage and cuss and yell and wave a chair over your head and threaten people, that's somebody that you might not want making legal decisions for you on your behalf. Monkey says MacArthur at the time wanted to use it on China since the Civil War happened out from World War II and from Japanese occupation, and he saw it while China was at the point of war exhaustion. Yeah, he wanted to nip it in the bud before they got too big, but that just wasn't going to happen. Tuck says, imagine being a first responder and being represented by false alarm Bowman. Yeah, Fire Marshal Bowman, I say, because of course, as many of you are quite aware, Bowman is the lawmaker, the congressman who pulled the fire alarm and claimed he didn't know what it was. So much for being a principal in a public school. Dragon says Bowman's trying to pull another fire alarm by playing a victim. Urban Egg says the war in Gaza has a clear connections to the West, seeing as many of the Hamas and Hezbollah agents and fighters are already here in the West, waiting to be activated. Yeah, and that remains to be seen how that plays out. And Tuck says this particular schism in the left hive is hilarious in a dark way. Well, they can't get along, even with each other. Even with each other, they can't get along. They're at each other's throats. Bowman, who's grabbed plenty of attention during his 4 years in Congress for his verbal warfare with Republicans and for pulling a fire alarm in a House office building last year during a vote over government funding, was also hit for voting against President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure bill and against raising the debt limit. While knocking off an incumbent is extremely difficult and has yet to be accomplished by a challenger so far this cycle, Latimer was well known in the district. So, I mean, he's won the primary, but he hasn't won the seat. It remains to be seen if he actually wins. It's a good start. It's a good start. Remains to be seen how that plays out. This is what I find interesting. It says Latimer, a former state senator, was endorsed by local mayors and council members, multiple Westchester County legislators, and by former Secretary of State and former Senator Hillary Clinton. The 2016 Democratic presidential nominee lives close to the district in northern Westchester County. So that's almost like a demotion, going from being a senator to being a representative. That's almost like a demotion for Latimer. But yeah, when you're in politics that deep and for that long, that's all you know. Like Bernie Sanders, that's all he's ever done. It's another failure. What's Bernie Sanders ever done? Anybody? Anybody know anything that Bernie Sanders has done? I mean, his only claim to fame is that he allegedly marched with Martin Luther King, and you can't really tell if that's him in the pictures, honestly. You can't tell if that's him. I want to see if I can find that picture that they're always talking about. I'm going to pull it up, and I'm going to share it with you. And you tell me what you think. I'm going to pull this up. Oh, and Urban says he's got to go early. Oh, that's too bad. Well, I'm glad you were able to pop in. Let's pull up that famous image of Bernie Sanders. This is the only photograph of Bernie Sanders alleging that he marched with Martin Luther King. There's King up front. I mean, it's obviously King. And then this guy in the circle is supposed to be Bernie Sanders. I have no way of knowing if that's Bernie Sanders or not. This is the only photo available. It's just some white guy with glasses. There's a bunch of white people in the audience. I mean, he had a lot of support from all walks of life. I don't know if that's Bernie Sanders. Has he done anything else? The first job he ever had, actual job, was as the mayor of a small town in Vermont, and he was like 40. It's the first time he ever did anything work related, if you want to call it work. Somebody tell me, what has Bernie Sanders done? Anyone? Help me out here. Someone help me out. And Chillin' Dave says Bernie's a commie. Yeah. And Paul is here. He says had his wedding in Russia. He did. And Lantern of Liberty says he bought 3 houses and went to the USSR on his honeymoon. Does that count? Hey, diplomat! It's a diplomat. Tuck says, I bet some of these old career politicians reach an age where they feel trapped in the grift because they can't even swap a pool filter or maintain door locks. No, they don't know how to do anything. Jane confirms. It says, yeah, no idea if that's him. You can't tell from that picture. I can't expand the picture. I'm sorry. It's stuck like right there. It won't. I don't think I can get it open bigger. If I click it, it's just going to go to the next image. Yeah, that's no good. Let me try this. Does that help? Did it work? Hold on a second. Let me try something here. I'm going to see if I can expand this image, help you guys out a little bit here. Tell me if that's Bernie Sanders. I know I'm being silly, but I can't tell if that's him. It's a little bit bigger. What do you think? Is that Bernie? Is that our boy? And Kami Thong says Bernie's honeymooned in Moscow. How romantic. I know. And back when it was the USSR. back in the USSR, boy. Tuck says Bernie's a KGB plant. His job was propaganda and his paycheck came from Moscow. Oh, I love it. And Paul says he's a bloodsucker just like the rest of the swamp, trying to be nice. And Jane says if it's him, checked his image, it is Bernie Sanders when young. Is it? Well, it says it is, but I'm just saying, I can't tell from that picture. That could be anybody. I could say that's me. There I am. I used to wear glasses. I took them off. I got rid of the glasses. I had eye surgery. There you go. No, wait a minute. This is me over here. This is me to his immediate left. Can't you tell that's me? On the left of this, or the right side of the circle, Bernie's left. There I am, marching with King. There we are. And Monkey says all he did was screw over the young people in 2016 campaign. In 2020, he also got cucked at the DNC in 2016 to Hillary. And Tuck says maybe not him. Bernie doesn't have a really distinctive face. He's no Telly Savalas. And Kami Thong says Seth Rich was a Bernie supporter. I can't help but wonder if he was just a pawn in Operation Trust 2.0. Yeah, exactly. But I have no idea if that's him. And that's the only thing I ever heard him claim meant anything. But just because he was in the march, if he was in that march, doesn't mean he did anything either. Oh, yeah, I marched. And I know somebody who went to one of, oh, God, what is that guy's name? Now I'm going to draw a blank, right? A Nelson Mandela rally in Boston when he first started making the rounds after getting out of prison. Are they going to complain? Are they going to claim, if they have a photograph of themselves, that they were, oh, I was at a rally with Nelson Mandela. I supported Nelson Mandela. Woo! They complained about it, actually, because they said that they couldn't hear a damn thing. They couldn't hear anything he was saying. Chillin says he was on the grassy knoll. I know. Was he on the grassy knoll? And Kami Thong says Operation Trust was the most successful 1920s Soviet communist plot that your school never taught you about. Well, the school doesn't teach you much. The school doesn't teach you much anyways, so it doesn't surprise me. It does not surprise me at all. But again, I mean, I challenge anybody, let me know, because I might not know. Maybe I just don't understand something. Maybe I missed something. What has Bernie Sanders accomplished? Keeping in mind that, in my opinion, a lawmaker, senator, representative, president, whatever the hell their job is, mayor, governor. They don't have to make history. They don't have to set a precedence. They don't have to do anything spectacular. Just do a good job. Just do the job and do the best you can. Can he even say that? Can he even say that, or is he just in the habit of pissing away tax dollars and getting into feuds with people and running his mouth, which is all these people do. It's all these people do. It's incredible. Same thing with Biden. 50 years. 50 years your tax dollars have been funding this guy. 50 years. Where are the accomplishments, and has he done the job? Has he done the job? Fluke Man says he doesn't even have to look like Bernie. Some kid with dark hair and glasses is good enough. Yeah, you can't tell. And if you blow that picture up, you can't see anything. It'll be fuzz. You won't be able to make it up. You won't be able to make it out, rather, I should say. You can certainly make it up. But speaking of corruption, since we're on the subject of lawmakers, I love showcasing some corrupt lawmakers, especially when it looks like they're about to sink the ship. Irish Star article, of all things, FBI raid on Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao's home over pay-to-play probe and links to boyfriend. So now it's been revealed why it is the FBI raided her home. Remember, there's going to be a recall election coming up in November because Oakland is trying to get rid of her. They think she's corrupt and they're trying to get rid of her. They voted for her and she's no better or different than the people they had before her, but whatever. The FBI raided the residence of Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao amidst allegations of pay-to-play schemes involving her partner, as disclosed by a former aide. On Thursday morning around 5:30 a.m., agents descended upon the Democrats' Maiden Lane abode. Rena Webb, Tao's ex-chief of staff, who served the politician for a year and a half, stated that she was interrogated by federal operatives. Webb suspected that the probe extended to Tao's boyfriend, Andre Jones. She alleged that during her tenure managing Tao's office and campaign, Mr. Jones engaged in classic pay-to-play misconducts, striving to secure positions for the mayor's benefactors and confidants. Well, Biden got away with it. Just ask Hunter who it was that purchased those paintings. That's why he was under investigation for the sale of those paintings, because some of those people now work for some of the people that purchased Hunter's paintings back in the day for exorbitant amounts of money are now working in the executive branch of the White House. Jones's actions appalled Webb, particularly an absurd episode where he attempted to drag his former spouse into Tao's inauguration ceremony. This incident, according to Webb, was the tipping point that led her to her resignation and reportedly left the mayor in tears. Yeah, okay. Furthermore, Webb disclosed that she had conversed with the FBI earlier in the year, contributing to an inquiry into the dealings within the office. Speaking to ABC7, she remarked, "The line of questioning, I could tell that they had already been looking into, some of the kind of pay-to-play type of activities," reports The Mirror. So, yeah, they've been going into, and it says it here, federal agents have been nosing around at two homes owned by the influential Duong family of Cal Waste Solutions, a stone's throw away from each other in the south. It seems the family's recycling business has caught some heat regarding campaign donations to Tao amongst other city politicians, as the local press buzzes. So that's the reason why she's under investigation by the FBI, because before they said that it was undisclosed. Apparently, you want to, we'll find a nice cushy job for you if you contribute a little of this and that kind of thing going on. And Chillin says biosolids, the stuff with the corn in it, aka political speeches. Yeah. Dragon says the FBI does not do these types of raids without a hard paper trail evidence ahead of time. And Helter says pay to play, that's classic corruption. And Tuck says she's funny when she's desperate. Yeah, well, that's why her home was searched, as well as the homes of the owners of the California recycling facility. Plus, she's facing a recall election anyways because people believe that she's corrupt. And they got enough signatures to investigate her and to open up a recall election in the first place. And there we are. In case anyone was wondering why the FBI raided her home now, you know? And we'll see how long it takes to get her completely out of the picture. Because just because they vote for her in to be recalled doesn't mean she will be. Look at all the trouble that Illinois is having getting rid of Henyard, which we haven't seen an article about her in like almost 2 weeks now. But look at all the trouble that's going on in Illinois with Henyard. And then they vote to have her investigated, and then she vetoes their vote. They vote to have her removed, and she vetoes their vote. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how that works. Lantern of Liberty says the most they ever donated was $200. That's why they never got a cozy job. That's right. That's right. You're barely a blip on the radar, man. You're barely a blip on the radar if you only donated $200 to your local political party. I wouldn't donate anything, not even my time. Tuck says she dragged out the Hillary Classic vast right-wing conspiracy flag and waved it in gale force winds. Well, she's getting blown away now. Those winds have changed direction. But also, speaking of corruption, while we're on the subject, you'll love this because expect for things to get worse now that the Supreme Court says it's okay. It's okay. LA Times article. Supreme Court wipes out anti-corruption laws that bar officials from taking gifts for past favors. That's right, this just happened. This just happened. The Supreme Court on Wednesday struck down part of a federal anti-corruption law that makes it a crime for state and local officials to take gifts valued at more than $5,000 from a donor who had previously been awarded lucrative contracts or other government benefits thanks to the efforts of that official. Graft anyone? I'm in the wrong line of work. By a 6-3 vote, the justices overturned the conviction of former Indiana mayor who asked for and took a $13,000 payment from the owners of a local truck dealership after he helped them win a $1.1 million city contract for the purchase of garbage trucks. In ruling for the former mayor, the justices drew a distinction between bribery, which requires proof of an illegal deal, and a gratuity that could be a gift or a reward for a past favor. They said the officials may be charged and prosecuted for bribery, but not for simply taking money for past favors if there was no proof of an illicit deal. The question in this case is whether the federal law also makes it a crime for state and local officials to accept gratuities, for example, gift cards, lunches, plaques, books, framed photos, or the like, that may be given as a token of appreciation after the official act. The answer is no, said Justice Brett M. Kavanaugh, writing for the majority. I mean, I can understand you want to give them a framed picture, a plaque, a trophy, or some piece of, some trinket. But when you're giving them something of distinctive value, vacations, gift cards, a car, stuff like this is why those corruption laws were written in the first place, because, you can, without literally coming out and saying it, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, hey, man, Mayor so-and-so, if you have a good chance of getting the contract, if you drop a hint that maybe you'd be really grateful after the fact, and then he gets like a multi-million-dollar contract for repaving streets or something, and then you buy them a new motorcycle. You see what I'm saying? But that mayor knew that was going to happen, but now that's no longer illegal. That's no longer illegal. Those laws are there for a reason. So Chillin' Dave says he misses waving flags at the July 4th parades 55 plus years ago when he believed in the flag and the country behind it. Now it's a smaller belief in those closer to me. You can love your country without loving or believing in your lawmakers. You know, there's a distinction, but I understand what you're saying. Jane says this has always been on the books, no gift for government employees. Exactly. And Dragon says officials who use the public positions for private gain threaten the integrity of our most important institutions, such as simple truth, mostly ignored. Yeah, they're not honest anyways. So they may as well just come right out and be corrupt. Just do it, because we're tired of you lying about it anyway. We're tired of you lying anyways. We know that you're lying. They lie about every damn thing. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It says, despite his reference to token gifts, such as lunches and framed photos, the federal law was triggered only by payments of more than $5,000. But the court's conservative majority said, and don't blame the fact that it's conservative majority, Democrats are as guilty as Republicans or any other lawmaker of getting a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge, vacation time and, whatever else. I mean, we've already heard this brought up about Biden accepting vacations from people. And that's been drawn into question. So, but the majority said the law in question was a bribery statute, not a gratuities law. Kavanaugh said federal law will leave it to the state and local governments to regulate gratuities to state and local officials. And this goes on to say officials who use their public positions for private gain threaten the integrity of our most important institutions. And there you are. Fluke Man, I guess, asking about Henyard, says, did she have the right to veto the votes to have her removed? Can an innocent average citizen veto jurors' decisions to avoid going to prison for 3 decades or murder if they didn't commit it? No, they can't. Only lawmakers get away with that kind of crap, Fluke Man. Helter says the court is now officially pro-bribery. Crazy that the party that worships at the feet of oligarchs would be in favor of anything that would benefit us would be oligarchs. Well, I mean, they already made it that a donation can be considered free speech. So, yeah, this doesn't surprise me at all, unfortunately. And Michael O'Brien is here. Glad you could make it, Michael. Thanks for joining us today, talking about that the Supreme Court has just overturned a division of anti-corruption law that bars officials from taking gifts for a past favor, things that they've already done, because the law used to be triggered if you received a gift of more than $5,000. So again, now I can come up with a sweet contract if I'm like a mayor, governor, a councilman, whatever, and it's like, yeah, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'll give you a contract to do a landfill or to purchase new school buses or something. And, later on, maybe you'll remember me, wink, wink, nudge, nudge again. And they get their nice little sweet contract. And then somewhere down the line, I get a 2-week cruise paid for, or, I get a nice ski vacation in Sweden paid for by the company. And I'm no longer looked at sideways for taking that little gift. That opens the doors for all kinds of corruption. But is it corruption if it's legal? Remember, just because something is a law doesn't mean it's ethical or moral. Doesn't mean it's ethical or moral by any means. That's really the problem, isn't it, folks? That's really the problem. And getting away with stuff I couldn't do. This is what kills me about all these lawmakers. They're getting away with doing things you and I could not do. All the way back to where we started at the very beginning, second article that we read, the individual I jokingly referred to as Fire Marshal Bowman, with his $3,000 fine and letter of apology to the chief of the Capitol Police for pulling the alarm. But if you or I did it, we'd be sitting in jail for 2 or 3 years. Getting really tired of this. Seriously. Raccoon says, was there ever a time where politicians weren't corrupt? I don't know. But even if they were corrupt, they had to be a lot more careful than they do now. And I'm sure there have been and may be some honest politicians. But, man, it's getting hard to tell. It's getting hard to tell. These guys, you have to think about the type of person that gets involved in politics in the first place. They tell you, they allude to, absolute power corrupting absolutely, but who seeks absolute power? Except for someone who is seeking for an opportunity to indulge in their corruption. It's already in them. They're looking for an outlet. Oh, if I'm a lawmaker, then if I'm the one making the laws, then I'm above the law. Or if I do get into trouble, yeah, a little, nudge here and there, I'll be all right. I'll squeeze through. But you or I can't do that. You or I cannot do that, no matter how much money we have. And Michael says, yeah, no doubt. Indeed. Indeed, we can't get away. They can get away with all sorts of things that we could never get away with. And they can tweak the law here and there, and that's what's just been done. That, and like I said, the real Pandora's box was saying that financial donations to a political party is a form of free speech. That was kicking over Pandora's box. Period. Now look where we are. So there's no limit on the size of gifts if I did a favor for you to help you get a contract now. Unbelievable. Fluke Man says, when these people host parties, especially birthdays, guests are generally forced to buy them expensive gifts, and it's a good time to make deals. And Michael says they just don't know how these politicians are almost billionaires when they are not in politics anymore. Oh, wait, I know why. Yeah, you sure do, because there's a lot of laundering that goes on. That's why I always suspect it. I always suspect it whenever they get this big lucrative book deal, like Obama getting like a $24 million book deal or however much it was. How many people you think are buying that book? Seriously? They're sitting in a warehouse somewhere. Nobody wants that damn book. Nobody wants Michelle's next book, but they get millions of dollars. Meanwhile, before the book even gets published, meanwhile, you got really good writers out there who can't even get a script across somebody's desk. Fox News article, jumping back to California here really quickly. And this is one that they're blowing up in the media, but it's a load of crap. And I'll tell you why. It says entire California Hells Angels chapter arrested in criminal street gang investigation. Oh, no. And they're motorcycle clubs now. They have to be registered as motorcycle clubs to stay off of the FBI's gang watch list. That's why all these motorcycle clubs are MCs now. That's what started that. That was a way for them to get off those watch lists. But they tell you here, an entire chapter of the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club has been arrested in California as part of a criminal street gang investigation and now face charges including kidnapping, robbery, and assault, police say. Isn't that about what would happen to me if I got arrested? Think about this. If you got arrested, if the SWAT team came to your house, they kidnap you, rob you, and assault you. Only with them it's legal. The Kern County Sheriff's Office announced that the Bakersfield chapter of the Outlaw Motorcycle Gang, quote, it's a motorcycle club. They were an outlaw motorcycle gang in the 1960s, maybe. But yeah, it doesn't quite work that way anymore. Was taken into custody on Tuesday following a joint probe with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives and the California Highway Patrol. More than 150 law enforcement personnel were involved. They seized 25 firearms, ammunition, multiple high-capacity magazines. And by the way, in California, high-capacity magazine means 10 rounds, okay? 10 rounds, high capacity. And gang affiliate paraphernalia. Gang affiliate paraphernalia would be the Hell's Angel patches on their jackets, okay? Here's where this gets interesting, and this is why this is bullshit. I'm going to tell you. Lantern of Liberty here. I'll read a couple of comments real quick. It says it's still easy to get around. I'll get the contract from the city. I give Bob $15,000 and Bob gives the mayor $13,000. Done. Yeah, there you go. And Sven says, who do the Hells Angels think they are? The government? I know it. So think about this. This is where this is just a big joke. First of all, it's a motorcycle club. Were they involved in something illegal? Perhaps. Maybe they were. They're accused of kidnapping, robbery, and assault. I don't know what the specifics of that are, but that's what they're charged with. They had 150 police involved, ATF, state troopers, and sheriff's office, 150 law enforcement officers to arrest this chapter. Okay, the entire chapter, which Kern County Motorcycle Club, right? And they managed to seize 25 firearms, various types. They don't tell you what kind of firearms. Ammunition, I would assume so. Multiple high-capacity magazines, which means they have 10 rounds per magazine, and does not imply that they are illegal magazines, by the way. Just that they are, quote, high capacity. And gang affiliate paraphernalia, aka the Hells Angels patchovers, right? 150 law enforcement personnel to arrest, are you ready for it? 7 people, because that's how many people are in that chapter. 7. Overkill anyone? Helter says Hells Angels are not noted for being a law-abiding motorcycle club, and it shows. I'm not saying that they weren't doing anything illegal, just that the way that they're blowing this up is kind of ridiculous. That's my implication here. The way they're blowing this up is kind of ridiculous. Monkey says, I saw that a huge chuck, no pun intended, at the ATF are overweight. There was an official document talking about it, or chunk rather, not chuck. Fluke Man says, isn't it hard to get a gun license in California? Yeah, I believe it is. And War Queen is here. Glad you could make it today. Dragon says, folks seem to think these motorcycle clubs are just social clubs, but they aren't. And Monkey says about 50% of the ATF officials are overweight and are triggered over the fat ATF officer memes. Well, if you sit at a desk all day, well, look at any of the, my wife, again, watches a lot of the true crime, like docudramas, where they interview real detectives and real police and talk about real cases. Almost every detective is pretty obese. They're pretty heavy guys. And Michael says they used to have outlaw clubhouse by them and it made the neighborhood safer. Oh, no. But I just think this is ridiculous. We don't know if they actually have done anything. They've done anything. They probably did commit some crimes. I'm just going to assume. but 150 law enforcement officers to arrest 7 people. It says here, because it confirms 7 people, all 7 of the suspects now face charges of kidnapping, first-degree robbery, criminal threats, false imprisonment, assault with a firearm, participation in a criminal street gang, criminal conspiracy, intimidating a witness or victim, and elder abuse, according to the Kern County Sheriff's Office. Elder abuse? Where'd they squeeze that one in there? 150. And you wonder why people are scared of their own shadow when it comes to law enforcement. Talk about overkill. 150 law enforcement officers to arrest 7 people. 7 people. Kami Thong says it's not hard to get a gun license or even to become a firearm safety instructor certificate. We just have a lot of laws that limit our access to certain types of guns and limit our magazine capacity. Okay, Kami, you're in California? And War Queen says they have 10 cats. Oh no, and they all seem to have the same upper respiratory infection. I took one in $120. Do you think the others will just get better on their own? What's causing the upper respiratory infection? You got to find that out first. I would get an air purifier for the indoor cats primarily. Try getting an air purifier and plugging it into your house. You maybe even a dehumidifier to reduce the moisture. To reduce the moisture for them. And Michael says California is like Chicago, very hard to get a gun license. I lived in Illinois, so I know you got to get that FOID card, and you have to have a carry permit if you're going to carry, and there's a waiting period after you make your purchase, and there's a lot of hoops to jump through. Raccoon says they'll crack down on them, but no to the illegals from MS-13 who are killing and assaulting, I'll say, children here. And Cyberjack Sr. says those are John Wick odds. I know, 150 versus 7. How many do you need? How many? And Kami says they're in Los Angeles County and they're a certified firearm safety instructor. Okay. And Fluke Man said, seemed like the 150 officers' plan were to do relay when chasing the 7 Hells Angels. Were they going to chase them on foot? Were they like the T-1000? The T-1000, they're going to run them down while they try to get away on their motorcycles, like when John Connor tried to get away. You know what's funny about that? We don't see actors with this kind of dedication anymore. Okay. The actor who played the T-1000 in Terminator 2, he wanted to be like a machine. So he did 2 things to train. He spent months training so he could be the T-1000. He went to the firing range and he would practice shooting and resisting blinking. If you notice in the movie, he does not blink when he shoots because in his mind, a machine would not react. It would just keep firing. So he trained himself to shoot without blinking. He also trained himself to sprint at a very high speed because there were several scenes where he would have to run, and he didn't want a body double. He wanted to be able to do it himself, but he got and breathed through his nose. He would not use his mouth when he ran because, of course, a machine doesn't breathe. And so he would sprint full tilt, breathing through his nose. But he was so good at it, he kept overtaking the actor on the motorbike. And the director had to get him to actually slow down for the scenes. That's dedication. We don't get acting like that anymore. That's why movies suck now. I'm just saying. And War Queen says they changed the litter recently. We have indoor cats and air purifiers, just high 90s, no AC. And that could be, and it could be like, I don't know what your humidity is like. You might want to try a dehumidifier. And if you have a lot of cats, I assume you're changing the box multiple times a day if they're indoor cats. And War Queen says he's going to change they're going to change the litter back to what they had before and see if it makes it any better. Well, hopefully they'll be all right. Hopefully they'll be all right. But there we go. And Michael says he's a good actor and been in tons of TV and movies. Yeah, He is. That's dedication, and you just don't see it anymore. You don't see it anymore. And in stupid news here, and we're going to jump to fortune. You may have heard about this, and it has to do with a toddler who was trapped inside of a Tesla vehicle. Okay, Forbes news article rather. Toddler trapped Tesla after the battery died without warning amid record heat waves. Safety comes last at Tesla, according to the experts. And no, that is not the baby. That is a stock image. It says 20-month-old girl in Arizona recently locked inside a Tesla Model Y after the car battery died, creating a life-threatening situation in which firefighters had to break open the door with an axe to rescue her. Renee Sanchez, the girl's grandmother, loaded the girl in her car seat for a trip to the Phoenix Zoo. Isn't it kind of hot for that? After she closed the rear door, Sanchez went around to the front of her car only to find the door wouldn't open. The car was dead. I couldn't get in. My phone key wouldn't open it. My card key wouldn't open it, she told local news AZ Family. Michael Brooks, the executive director for Nonprofit Center for Auto Safety, told Fortune the toddler trapped in a car in Arizona heat can become critically endangered in 15 minutes. After 30 minutes, many children die in hot cars. That car was in a garage, by the way. Sanchez, faced with what Brooks called a life-threatening situation, had no choice but to call 911. Scottsdale firefighters raced over and grew frustrated once they saw the make of the car. The first thing they said was, "Ugh, it's a Tesla. We can't get into these cars," Sanchez said. And I said, "I don't care if you have to cut the car in half, just get her out." The firefighters broke through the window with an axe, which, that's what they do anyway. They break the glass. Here's the thing. I keep hearing about this with the Tesla because there is no key and there is no handle on the outside of the doors. You have to use a signal to unlock the door unless you're inside. And there is an emergency. That's what Fluke Man is asking. He says, isn't there an emergency way to open the car from the inside? Underneath the seat or the side panel, there's a little switch that you can pull and it'll pop the doors in case you're locked in the car. That it's in the owner's manual. You can, but not on the outside of the vehicle. If the battery's dead, you're screwed. And my question is, she's saying the app didn't remind her to charge her car. Shouldn't you just plug it in anyway? Just like if you have a cell phone, you don't wait till the red light's flashing to plug in your cell phone, right? When you're not using it, you just plug it in. Why do I keep reading stories about people getting trapped in or out of their Teslas? Because a lot of people never read their manual and don't know there's an emergency release latch on the inside. Why do I keep hearing about people getting locked in or out of these cars? Don't you just charge it whenever you stop? When you get home, don't you just plug that shit in? How come this woman, its car sitting in the garage, you didn't plug it up? You're waiting for the app to tell you to plug it up. How stupid are we getting? Let me catch up a couple of comments here. Raccoon says they had a cat who reacted to a store brand litter and had flu-like symptoms and sneezed a lot. I changed to dye-free, fragrance-free. Also, dust-free is important because micro fibers in dust can cause upper respiratory infections. When I was cutting flooring, there was a warning about that. When you even the laminate flooring, they warn you to wear a dust mask because the very fine dust that comes off of that can give you upper respiratory infections. So that's an interesting point. And Jane says, "Oh, Tesla can't get in if you have to break the glass. Learn something new every day." And says also, "Good point. Plug the car in daily." And exactly, what is wrong with these people? What is wrong with these people? They're going to wait for the app to tell them to plug it in. If you're on a diet, are you waiting for the app to tell you to eat? Are you going to starve to death if something goes wrong with it? And Monkey says, "At least the Kia warns them to check the back seat just in case, and it's usually stuff I have that can qualify as a human being in the back seat." That's ridiculous to me. It seems to me like that's something you would just do. It needs to be charged. You know that if you're driving an electric vehicle, you know how unreliable those batteries are anyway. Plug that sucker in every chance you get. I mean, if you're driving a car, a regular gas-powered vehicle, you should probably fill it up every time you get to about 50%, just to never let it run out. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with people. I don't know what the hell's wrong with people. But with that, we are at the top of the hour. So I'm going to go ahead and start signing off. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. And that is at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can also find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Coffee Talk Chat, and fistfulofradio.com. So thank you, everybody who was able to join us here today. Hope you got something out of the conversation.